The new Modern Warfare 3 Season 1 Reloaded patch notes just went live, and we're going to be going over everything that changed with the new 1.37 update. Let me know down in the comment section after watching the video, after checking out the patch notes, if you think the changes made were a complete W or an absolute L. And remember, if you guys want to stay up to date with any and all news, updates, as well as best class setups and settings, because some things have changed as well, make sure you guys drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. I'll start those post notifications. Let's get into it. You guys can see here for the Season 1 patch notes, obviously we did get some DLC weapons this update. We got the HRM9 as well as the TAC Evil, but we're going to be talking about the weapon balance because that's going to be really important when kind of going ahead and moving forward with the Season 1 Reloaded ecosystem and how things are going to be playing out. Now, I took a quick glance on Twitter and it looked like a lot of weapons actually got touched this season, which is a good thing. Now, they actually went ahead. This is something that I did not expect them to do. They changed all the hardpoint points on a lot of the maps here. You can see Estate, Derail, High Rise, Invasion, Karachi, Scrapyard, Skid Row, Subbase, Terminal, Underpass, Operation Spearhead War. A lot of the hardpoint points, or at least a lot of the focal objective points, did get changed, which I think is because of the introduction of ranked play. So let me know down in the comment section if you guys are excited for this and if you also are going to be playing ranked play. Now, let's go ahead and talk about the weapon balance because, again, that's going to be very important. For the assault rifles, the SVA 545 got a buff. They increased the maximum damage from 29 to 30, giving it a 3% increase. Now, the Holger 556 received a nerf. I did expect a Holger nerf this season. I did not expect an SVA 545 buff. That gun was already good in my opinion, but hell, I'll take it. This actually got an increase to sprint to fire time from 231 to 252. Now, when talking about the sprint to fire time, technically when they go ahead and increase things, that's going to be a negative, making the gun slower, reducing its overall handling at close to medium ranges. Are we going to feel this? Probably not. Now, the DG56 decreased maximum damage range from 35.6 to 20.3. Don't know why they did this. This weapon was already kind of questionable and it's not really that good. I guess it's going to be, you know, packed up, you know, in the coffin now. They also decreased minimum damage range from 44.5 to 30.5. So the DG56, it looks like it's, you know, in the coffin. It's done. Now the FR 5.56, they increased minimum damage range from 36 to 40. So I'm definitely gonna have to take a look at the FR 5.56, the FAMAS, the burst weapon. Looks like this weapon might actually be somewhat usable again. I mean, it was usable, but for the most part, you know, the fully automatic weapons were better. So let me know down in the comments what you guys think. Do you think they should have buffed the DG56, giving it the potential to one burst at close range? Or do you guys agree with the nerf here? Now, obviously, they buffed the FR, which is a massive W, but I'm still on the fence of if that DG56 nerf was actually necessary. Personally, I don't think so. Now, the MCW, they increased sprint to fire time from 220 to 241. 10% increase, that's going to be a nerf, just like that 9% increase on the Holger 556. And they went ahead and decreased a lot of the range benefits from the barrels. Luckily, barrels on the MCW really weren't that necessary. The Cyclone long barrel got decreased damage range, bullet velocity, sprint. They increased the sprint to fire penalty. They decreased hip fire spread penalty. This is not too big of a deal, 1%. They also decreased tactical stance spread by 5%. Now, the Regal heavy stock, I actually run this on all my MCW builds, so this is going to be noticeable off rip. They decreased gun kick control benefit by 11%. Damn. Decreased horizontal recoil control by 5%. Decreased vertical recoil control by 5%. Increased sprint speed penalty by 3%. Increased tactical sprint speed penalty by 3%. And they also increased sprint speed penalty by 1%. So the Regal heavy stock got a nerf. We might have to go ahead and find another attachment to replace this with. Is it going to be noticeable? Probably, because these are a lot of benefits that, you know, you would actually run the attachment for that now are kind of hurting the weapon. We'll have to go ahead and find out. Now, the Jack Raven kit, they increase arm damage multiplier from 1 to 1.1x, so that's a 10% increase. And they also increased hand damage from 1 to 1.1x, also 10% increase. The Jack Raven kit was actually pretty decent on this weapon. At first I didn't like it, but once I built a class setup, I found out that it actually was quite usable. So maybe I'll go ahead and give this a try, but I'm definitely gonna have to figure out another stock to run, or if I'm even gonna run a stock on the MCW now. Maybe I'll just replace it with maybe, you know, an optic, or I'll replace it with a magazine if it's really not that necessary anymore. Now, they actually buffed a couple of MW2 guns this update, which honestly I was anticipating as well. The STB556 increased maximum damage range from 15.2 to 30.5. This is a massive buff. I'm definitely gonna take a look at the STB556. This actually might be on par with a lot of the Modern Warfare 3 guns we have currently. Honestly, I hope it is. Now, they also increased near medium damage range from 29.5 to 39.4. That is massive. And they also increased medium damage range from 47 meters to 54.6 meters. Whoo! So this is going to be a nice buff to the STB556. I was not expecting this at all. Now, the Cast-Off 762 also received a buff, which I do believe should have gotten a buff. They increased lower torso damage multiplier from 0.96 to 1.1. They increased leg damage multiplier from 0.96 to 1.1. And they also increased foot damage multiplier from 0.96 to 1.1. I think they should go ahead and buff up the headshot multiplier as well, just to go ahead and give it, you know, the ability to have a 2-shot kill again. Because honestly, that's like what the AK should be doing. Now, the Chimera, they increased near medium damage from 20 to 29, so they buffed the Chimera, the Honey Badger. So far, they're buffing a lot of the meta weapons in Modern Warfare 2, in Modern Warfare 3, which honestly is a massive W in my personal opinion. Now, the Tempest Razorback, they increased maximum damage from 28 to 29, increased maximum damage range from 12.7 to 22.9. That's huge, damn. They increased lower torso damage multiplier from 1.x to 1.1x, so that's going to be a nice buff to the Tempest Razorback. This actually was one of the better weapons in Modern Warfare 3 that came from Modern Warfare 2, so it's nice to see that this gun is a little bit better now. The FR Advancer, they increased maximum damage from 25 to 29, and they also went ahead and increased, they decreased maximum damage range from 34.9 to 24.8. Why'd they do that? Maybe I've been sleeping on the FR Advancer. Somebody did say the FR Advancer was nasty in this game. Well, looks like I kind of missed that window. Okay, wait. M16. Will this replace the DG56? Decreased upper torso damage multiplier. Ah, damn it. No, it won't. From 1.2 to 1.1. They nerfed it. Decreased arm damage multiplier from 1.2 to 1. I don't want to even read this anymore. I'm getting upset. So they nerfed the M16, unfortunately. They did buff the sprint to fire time, but... And they increased the ADS time. Well, technically, they reduced the ADS time. That's nice, but this gun needed more damage. Come on, man. The Cast-Off 74U increased minimum damage from 19 to 22. Okay, AK-7 Fuse getting a buff. Increased near medium damage range from 22.9 to 30.5. Okay. And they also increased medium damage range from 36.8 to 47. All right. Now, the Cast-Off 545, they increased maximum damage from 32 to 34. Ooh. Increased maximum damage range from 24.9. Oh, damn. So they kind of nerfed this. Shoot. Decreased aim down sight time from 240 to 225. So they buffed the aim down sight time, which is nice. I don't understand this. The M16 and the Cast-Off 545 should be just getting straight buffs throughout the board. It's kind of weird. Now, battle rifles, the Sidewinder. They decreased recoil and gun kick while firing. That's a good one. I definitely feel the Sidewinder needed to be buffed. The Lockman 762, they increased maximum damage from 44 to 52. That's a massive buff. And they also went ahead and nerfed it in full auto mode. But running full auto mode is not a good idea with this weapon as well. So definitely these are understandable. But they did go ahead and increase the arm and the hand, but who cares? Cronin Squall MW3 increased maximum damage from 31 to 32. That's nice. The F-Tac Recon increased lower torso damage multiplier from 1 to 1.3. and they did decrease aim down sight time. So they did go ahead and buff the FTAC Recon, and they also increased the FTAC Recon's damage, you guys can see here across the board, in full auto mode, which is nice. The SO14, this is gonna be that like M14, increased maximum damage from 41 to 46, and they kind of went ahead and decreased the torso damage, but they also increased lower torso as well as the leg damage and foot damage on this weapon in full auto mode. But a lot of these weapons that are in full auto mode, typically you want to keep them in semi if you want to be, you know, high damage. Let's go ahead and talk about these submachine guns. Finally, the WSP Swarm increased maximum damage range from 4.6 to 6.6. Increased near medium damage range from 7.9 to 11.7. I'm shocked by this, astonished, because the WSP Swarm was already a rock solid submachine gun in multiplayer. Now it's gonna be even better. So I'm definitely gonna have to go ahead and get my hands on this again. Honestly, this might be the best SMG in the game. For the Rival 9, they decreased horizontal recoil slightly. That's always a good, you know, buff to it. And decreased firing aiming stability by 5%. That's not that big of a deal. So the Rival 9 did receive a buff. Awesome. They also buffed the Striker 9 by increasing maximum damage from 27 to 29. And you guys can see here the Lockman Shroud received a number of tweaks. Increased maximum damage from 30 to 38. Increased near medium damage from 28 to 32. Decreased maximum damage range from 12.2 to 10.7, so they didn't nerf it down. Decreased headshot multiplier from 1.4 to 1.2. They decreased the neck, upper torso, arm, and hand with this as well. So this definitely is going to be questionable, but for the most part, I don't really think it's that big of a deal. The ISO 9mm incompatible underbarrel attachments could no longer be equipped, so they kind of, you know, removed some attachments you could not use. Didn't really notice that. The Fennec 45, they increased maximum damage. They increased leg multiplier. They increased foot damage. They decreased aim down sight time, so they made it a little bit slower, which, you know, it's the Fennec 45. And they also decreased sprint to fire time. I didn't understand that that was going to be happening with this weapon. So the Fennec 45 got buffs, it got nerfs, but in all reality, the multipliers and damage all got buffed. That's what matters. The Bash P from MW2, they decreased maximum damage range, so they nerfed it. Increased leg, and they increased foot. So this kind of got a buff and a nerf at the same time. Honestly, the range is more important here. The Lockman Sub, they buffed the Lockman Sub, and they also, you know, increased that near medium damage and the lower torso damage. So that's going to be a massive W here. So they buffed the MX9. They increased upper leg damage multiplier and foot damage, but they decreased the aim down sight speed and sprint to fire time. That's not that big of a deal. So the Lockman Sub and the MX9 also got buffs. That's going to be huge. For the shotguns, the Lockwood 680, they increased sprint to fire time from 184 to 200. That's going to be a nerf. The sawed-off mod received a lot of nerfs as far as movement speed, sprint to fire time, recoil control penalties got increased, as well as hip spread benefits got, you know, decreased as well. So the sawed-off mod got nerfed, but it's still going to be amazing. Not going to matter. The slug damage, they went ahead and reduced the slug. This is from MW2 to Lockwood 300. And they also went ahead and decreased the effectiveness of the Maelstrom dual trigger, which allowed you to fire 2 shells at once. The Expedite 12 received a damage buff from 10.4 to 12. And they also decreased pellet spread while aiming down sight by 20%. So that's going to be a nerf there. The Bryson 800, they decreased sprint to fire time, and they decreased aim down sight speed. That's going to be a buff. For the 890, they increased fire rate. Okay, so they buffed the 890 and the 800. That's interesting. They might actually be meta here in multiplayer. For the light machine guns, the Holger 26, they increased minimum damage from 25 to 29. The DG58 LSW, they decreased sprint to fire time, so that's going to be a buff. They decreased aim down sight time, that's going to be a buff. The Bruin MK9, they removed some attachments that, you know, should not be used. The Socken from MW2, they increased lower torso damage from 1 to 1.15. And they also decreased aim down sight time, which is going to be a buff. And the HCR, dude, I don't even remember using this gun. also received a buff by reducing the sprint to fire time and also the aim down sight time, which is nasty. Now for the marksman rifles, the DM56, they increased sprint to fire time, which is going to be a nerf. MTC interceptor, they decrease head damage multiplier. Damn. And they also decrease neck multiplier. That's going to be dropped by 90% across the board. The EBR14, they decrease sprint to fire time, which is a buff, and they decrease aim down sight time. So both of these received buffs in their ability at close range by 20% and 6%. The Lockwood MK2, they remove some attachments, decrease aim down sight time. So they buffed the Lockwood MK2, and they also decreased the hip fire spread. Interesting. The Tempest Torrent, they increase leg and foot damage multipliers by 5%. The crossbow, they buff the range, the minimum damage by 25%. Like that matters. And the Bright Blaze 20-inch bolts also receive buffs across the board as well. The LMS decrease sprint to fire time, and they decrease aim down sight time. So these are going to be buffs by 10% and 9%. So the LMS got buffed. And for the sniper rifles, you can see here the Cat AMR, they did reduce the damage range with the Zane 34 as well as the bullet velocity by 9 and 8%. The KV inhibitor added medium damage range at 129. Ooh, so they buffed the KVH inhibitor. The range, they decreased maximum damage. So they did decrease the minimum damage. They decreased the maximum damage range from 38 to 30. And they decreased near medium damage range from 58.4 to 48.3. That's going to be noticeable. Victus XMR increased lower torso damage multiplier from 1.05 to 1.x. This is going to be good. I'm going to use this again for sure. The Kayak 300 or .300 increased recoil center speed by 100%. So it's going to be a little bit easier to spam the Kayak 300 or the .300. For the handguns, the Renetti, Ferocity Carbine view will no longer be obstructed while aiming down sights with certain optic attachments equipped. That's going to be huge. You guys can see here with the TYR, they made a number of increases to the damage and also reduced the medium damage range. Upper torso got increased, decreased the lower torso, decreased arm, decreased hand. They decreased the trigger action delay, so you actually can fire it faster. This is actually gonna be a nice one. Obviously they removed some attachments that should not be used. They decreased trigger action delay from 70 to 60, so that's going to be a buff. Odin Juggernaut trigger action, decreased trigger action delay from 210 to 150, that's going to be a buff. 9mm Damon received some range increases and also decreases the damage range. So the maximum and the medium damage all received buffs, but kind of weird. Maximum damage got buffed, but here they decreased maximum damage range. Kind of weird that they did that. Just buff the gun. It doesn't get used. The Storm Ender, EMP effects will now disable or destroy the following items: Drill Charge, Smoke Airdrop, Inflatable Decoy, and the Swarm. Aw, damn. That's kind of annoying. You guys can see they also made some changes to the SL Razorhawk laser sight. Nobody uses this. They made changes to the FSS OLV laser. Nobody uses this. The Grimline laser, the Verdant Hook box laser, the 50 cal Spire Point rounds, the XRK Nightfall suppressor, round nose ammunition. You guys can see here for the perks, they made some changes to tac mask. They added immunity to the EMP effects from the Storm Ender, and bone conduction is kind of reworded so it's a little bit easier to understand. And the signal jammer that prevented proper functionality. So they went ahead and did a lot of changes here. I'm actually really liking this. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think about all these weapon changes. This was a lot. Damn, they touched like damn near almost all the MW2 guns, and they touched quite a few of Modern Warfare 3 guns. Honestly, I think this update was a W, but the only thing I don't really like here, realistically, is kind of how they have inconsistencies with the damage increase and the nerfs. And I also don't like how they nerfed the DG56, but we're gonna find out how this all plays out. So if you guys enjoy, make sure you guys drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, turn on post notifications, and We'll find out here in Modern Warfare 3 Season 1 if these changes actually mean anything.